This is the next video in the chapter on chemical bonding and molecular geometry. We have just finished talking about how to name simple ionic compounds, and now we need to move on to simple covalent compounds. So covalent compounds are a little bit more flexible, so we need to add a little bit more information to our name. Remember that covalent compounds are made up of all nonmetals. They don't have a metal and a nonmetal in these. And these nonmetals can combine with each other in multiple ratios. So when we had ions, they always had a fixed charge, and we could figure out what that ratio was, but there's multiple possible ratios for nonmetals. So we need to specify in the name. We need to specify how many of each element are in the molecule. So the names are going to get just a little bit longer in this case. So the other difference is that we don't have a cation and an anion for these compounds because everything is a metal, but we still need a way to decide which one goes first. So we're going to say the more metallic one is going to go first and the less metallic one is going to go second, with the more metallic one meaning that it's closer to the left and bottom side of the periodic table. Oops, I should have put that over here. And we said we needed to specify how many of each element there were. So we are going to have a prefix in front of the name of the more metallic element to tell us how many there are. And we'll do a similar thing for the less metallic element. Prefix, less metallic element. And then we have that same "-ide" suffix at the end to indicate that this is a compound. And the less metallic elements are going to be over towards the top and right part of the table. So it's pretty similar to what we did before, just with a little bit more information. So let's practice naming the different nitrogen oxides. So we've got NO2, we've got N2O4, and we've got N2O5. So if you think you know what you're doing, go ahead and pause the video here and see if you can write out the names for those by yourself. So the first thing we need to do is to figure out if this is ionic or molecular. Remember our questions that we ask ourselves when writing a name. The first one was ionic or molecular, and when we look at these compounds, we're seeing two nonmetals. And two nonmetals are going to have a small electronegativity difference. So this is going to be a molecular compound. And so will both of these. So we'll just go ahead and state that. Okay, and so if it's a molecular compound, we need to figure out which element is more metallic and which element is less metallic. So we're looking at nitrogen and oxygen. Nitrogen is to the left of oxygen in the table, and the leftmost one is going to be the more metallic. And sometimes it's a giveaway because it's written first in the formula, but you can't always trust the formula to follow the rules because sometimes people on Google make mistakes too. So nitrogen is going to be our more metallic element, so that's the one that we're going to list first. And we know this is called nitrogen, and the other one is called oxygen. So we'll just go ahead and do that for all of these. More metallic, more metallic. Nitrogen, nitrogen. And O is called oxygen. No one should be surprised by this. but we'll write it for the sake of completeness. Nitrogen and oxygen, nitrogen and oxygen, nitrogen and oxygen. Okay, so far everything is the same for the process we've gone through. And so now we're ready to write the names. We need the prefixes. Remember, we had them on the previous video. Here they are down here, the Greek prefixes 1 through 10. Commit those to memory. Okay, now we can use those to write our names. And this is why we have to add the prefixes, because if I name these in the Ionic fashion, I would name all of these nitrogen oxide. And then I wouldn't know how many nitrogens and how many oxygens I have. So we'll go ahead and name this one. This one we're going to name, there's 1, so the prefix is mono. Then we'll write nitrogen, space. There are 2 oxygens, so we'll put di in the front, and we'll write the prefix oxide at the end. And now I'm here to tell you that this is not actually the correct name and that the mono part is not included. So there is a special rule. We omit the prefix mono if it's at the very beginning of the name in the more metallic side, because that way the name is a little bit less short. You might have noticed this for compounds such as H2O, for example. You might have noticed that this one is called dihydrogen monoxide. Never mind, that's not a good example because there's 2 at the beginning. Ignore me. When the first more metallic element only has 1, we omit the prefix mono. So we just write nitrogen dioxide. All right, let's try and name this one and let's try and do it correctly this time. So there are 2 nitrogens. So we're going to call that dinitrogen. And we are going to keep the prefix this time, space. And there are 4 oxygens, so it's going to be called tetraoxide. But tetraoxide is kind of awkward to say. So we're going to drop the A in tetra when we slam it onto the front of the compound. So instead of writing tetraoxide, we omit the A and we just write tetroxide, because tetroxide is only 3 syllables and tetraoxide is 4 syllables. We're really splitting hairs at this point, but we're just trying to do whatever we can to make this name as short as possible. So we have 2 prefixes minus the A, and we have the suffix at the end of the second word. All right, and for our third example, there's 2 nitrogens again, so dinitrogen. Space. And there are 5 oxygens, so we're going to name it pentoxide. Again, pentaoxide is a little bit clunky, so the A is left out here. So our prefix is penta minus the A, suffix is "ide" for the second one, and the prefix on the first word is di. And I remembered the example I was trying to think of. It was CO. We all know what that one's called. That one's called carbon monoxide. That's the gas that you probably have a detector for in your bedroom to make sure that you are not poisoned in your sleep. So you can see in this case, the mono prefix is included in the second word, but it isn't included in the first word. We've omitted it because it's at the beginning of the first word. We did include it in the second word, but notice that one of those O's got dropped because monoxide is just too much. So 1 O is enough. And there's the prefix at the end. And carbon is the more metallic element than oxygen, because carbon is to the left of oxygen in the table. So the binary covalent compounds, the simpler ones, are actually very straightforward to name as long as you remember to include those prefixes telling you how many we have. And this marks the end of our nomenclature chunk of information for right now. So we'll go ahead and check it off in our atoms first approach diagram. Basics of molecular nomenclature are completed, and now we're ready to move on to Lewis structures.